Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today is sea glass inserted into a metal lamp base. So this is a metal lamp base that you would buy that's already made, and then you would foil it and add glass to it and lights and make a wonderful artistic lamp base out of it. So there are many steps involved, and I'm going to go through each step on its own. Number one, I'm going to foil the metal base. Now you can use your normal 7/32 inch foil, but because this particular lamp base has really wide metal ribs in it, what I got was some 2-inch wide foil. And right now I am measuring half of it, which would be 1 inch. And I'm cutting that, and I'm going to use that to foil it, which will save me lots of time and probably lots of foil. And it'll make it a little bit smoother than if you just wrapped it a different way. So basically I take the backing off. I'm sticking this foil onto my metal, and then I'm going to wrap around onto the back the best I can. I'm not going to worry about foiling the underside. I'm just going to worry about foiling the top and the two sides, because basically I just want to be able to have the foil attached to the metal enough so that it won't come off when I'm soldering. So I'm using my little fid, or any object you have that you can smooth down your foil, and you want to burnish it smooth on the tops. It doesn't have to be perfect, because as you saw, once you start soldering, it is going to end up being kind of glumpy anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want it stuck down. Being stuck down is the important thing, is that it's completely covered, because if there's any gaps when you're doing this, the solder will not stick there most of the time. I mean, you can test your metal lamp base before you do this, but most of the time you will find that buying a metal anything, it will not accept solder very easily. Now at the top, I either squish down the top area there. It'll cut pretty easily by just pressing down on the smooth edge, or you can use a razor blade and cut it smoothly. Because basically with this one, I decided I'm only going to foil the ribs at the bottom and the ribs around the top. I'm not going to foil the other areas. I'm going to end up patinaing it in a coppery black patina, so it's going to end up being about the same color as the rest of the lamp, so that they'll kind of blend in together, is the idea at this point. So I'm foiling all that. Now I need to foil the glass. Now this is purchased supposedly sea glass you can buy, but most of the time when you purchase sea glass, it's not terribly smooth, and I like it to be like really smooth. So I tumble it for about 4 days in a little small tumbler, and that'll make it really quite smooth. And now I'm using half of the width of your basic 7/32 inch foil. I happen to use the black back stuff that I'll actually put the description in the description page on my front page of this video. I'll put the stuff that I've used. Now, so I'm going to foil all the edges, and at times I found that I did not have small enough pieces for different areas of this, so I had to break apart some of the glass that I had. Now, yes, I could have tumbled those again, but I didn't really want to do that, so I just made sure that they were foiled in a way that they're not going to look like they're different than the other ones. And to cut these, I just used some of these rolling pliers that you can buy to cut glass, and they cuts very nicely into smaller pieces, and then you can foil those. Now, number 3, I needed to add material to support the glass. So I had to somehow put something behind my frame, my lamp frame, so that I could easily put the glass in. Now, if you just leave it open, you're going to be depending on, holding the piece in the air with pliers or something. And that can be very difficult to do. So to help me, I used pieces of silicone and different, I used like stuffing at times. I used some fabric, whatever I happened to have nearby to fill the space and make this, this surface that's mainly silicone level and smooth with the frame itself. So that's what I'm doing here. And it did work out pretty good. I had to use lots of different pieces, but I had lots of scrap of silicone. So whenever I make anything out of sheet silicone, I always keep those scraps because, especially if you're doing a project like this, it's great to be able to have those handy to use. Now I'm starting to solder the glass. So I have a whole bunch of pieces of glass, and I also have some frosted round globs that I thought were kind of fun that I had purchased, and I'm using those frosted globs in places. See, this is where I needed to have small pieces of glass, so that's why I had to cut some of them, because I wanted to have not very big gaps between the different pieces of glass. And it's kind of difficult to just, automatically have a hunk of sea glass that just happens to be the right size. So I did cut a lot of pieces of glass, so I had a nice variety. And then you have to figure out, okay, which ones fit where. You can tell on my left hand I have, I'm wearing a silicone glove, which they're just really handy. You can wash them and use them again and again. And the good thing about silicone gloves is that they help dissipate the heat a little bit. So you can hold a piece of glass or something onto your project for a little bit without burning your hand. So that's why I like wearing those kind of gloves as opposed to other gloves. Also, the silicone gloves are really close fitting, like a nitrile or a latex glove. So though, how tight fitting they are, so you don't feel really cumbersome. Like those cloth gloves that you can get, they kind of, I don't like them because I don't really feel like I have perfect control. So yeah, I'm using my gloves. I'm using, this is a silicone washer that I put underneath to kind of make it the right levelness of my project. I'm still using that liquid flux that I got, and I'm probably going to go back to my gel flux that I think I like better, especially because I do a lot of these three-dimensional type of artwork, and the liquid flux just kind of like falls off of it. I mean, that makes sense because it's more liquidy than the gel. The gel tends to like cling on to the surface so it doesn't disappear as quickly. So you can see I'm getting some of it done. You can see that the ribs themselves are quite gloppy, and I do smooth them off afterwards, but they're not really smooth. I mean, that's just the look that you're going to get with this. If you wanted it perfectly smooth, then buy some plastic thing. This is a piece of art, and it's going to have that textured look to it. So it was kind of fun to try to figure out, it's kind of like a puzzle to try to figure out what piece I can put where to fill the spaces. So I would, whenever you do a project like this, you want to have like a real lot to choose from. So you want to have a big pile of glass that's already foiled, that is somewhat the right size for what you're going to need, and then you can just grab whatever seems to work. And at times I would go from one area to another and not like finish an area necessarily, because I might not be able to find the right piece. So I'll be like, okay, well, I'll just wait till I find one and then I will come back to you. So that's what I did. If the space is a little too big, and but it's kind of like too small to put another piece of glass in, but that you can't get the solder together. So that's why I'm kind of moving the silicone there. Then you're going to want to fill that gap with solder. I mean, in a project like this, I didn't want to have air holes, like holes all the way through, because I'm going to put LED lights in it, and I don't want the LED lights to get really bright where there would be a gap of no piece of glass. So I want everything to be filled. It's going to be filled with solder, or preferably filled with glass. So if there's a gap that's a little too big, just to naturally fill, but I really can't fit a piece of glass in, then I will fill that gap with solder. And when you're filling a gap with solder, you're probably going to want to fill that gap a little bit and then come back to it when it's cooled down a little and then fill it again. Because if you try to do it all at once, of course, you're going to just be heating up that that solder again and again, and it'll just disappear and fall through. So you can see I have some silicone washers. When you buy silicone washers, they often come in this orangey color, and then there'll be some clear ones that are smaller. At least a lot of different brands I've seen are like that. And you can use the different size silicone washers for different uses. You can see I just put one of those little clear ones. I also cut the washers in half or in thirds or in quarters, whatever, when needed, so that I can have a littler piece. But they're really handy because they will help make your glass level to whatever your project is, because that sheet silicone and stuffing I plopped in there might not be the perfect height when you want to do the glass. Now, what you just saw there was a gap between two of the ribs. That's going to be my door. I need to have some kind of little door in this project to be able to put my lights in, because I want to put lights on the inside. So I left one rib of, I don't know how many ribs there were. There were a lot of ribs in this thing. But I left one of them open so that I'm going to make a little door. This area right now, which is toward the top of the lamp, this area I will go all the way around, because my door is not going to have this skinny area is not going to help me in putting my lights in. So I will fill this area in, but the wider area toward the base, I left one completely not populated with glass, and then I'm going to make a little door to put in it. So this area especially, I had to cut a lot of pieces to fill those little skinny ribs. And you can see right now I am pulling out so much stuff. I have like stuffing, I have fabric, I even have a glove I think I shoved in there, and I have lots of pieces of silicone. I have lots of washers of different sizes, different types. And so yeah, there's like a lot of stuff in there, and I'm just pulling it all out. And of course there's the metal tube along the middle of it, which is normal lamp part. So yep, so just take all that stuff out, and now I'm going to add a door. So I made this door out of just regular I think it was 14 gauge copper wire, and I made it so that it fits over the other ribs. And I made like a little eye loops at the top and little wires sticking out on the door, and then I'm just like feeding one into the other, and I'm making like a little hinges. So basically this is just going to go up, and I'm going to put the stuff in, and then when you stand the lamp up, the idea is that with the weight of this door, it's just going to like close. Obviously, you wouldn't put this door toward your most visual side of your lamp, but it does fill the other side. Now I put a piece of silicone like behind it, and that was basically to hold it in shape and to have something to rest my glass on, so that I end up with, I don't want it to be, stick out the wrong side. I want it to be really flat on the inside there, the back, so that it fits nicely when I shut this cute little door. So I'm using small pieces of glass right now and just putting it on my in my door here, and obviously fluxing and soldering away. It did start getting pretty hot because you know that copper does heat up. Copper wire heats up pretty quickly. And because this is such a small area that I'm soldering, I did put a piece of thick silicone scrap, thick silicone scrap under my left hand there, and that's to help dissipate the heat, because it was getting a little bit hot, because I'm I'm constantly adding heat to this wire that goes around this. So that's another thing you can use to help yourself when you're working is, you can use clamps and stuff like that, and you can also use just your hand with a piece of silicone underneath it as a heat barrier. Obviously, I'm adding more and more glass to this, and it's getting done. As you can see, I'm adding from both directions at times, and then trying to find the right piece to fill in the gap. That's always kind of fun. Once now and then you might have to go back to your cutters and cut a special piece just for it. But if you have lots of scraps, you will be able to find what you want without resorting to going back and cutting and foiling more glass. Because that's the idea. When I'm soldering, I do not want to have to wash all my hands, because obviously when you're foiling, you have to have your hands perfectly clean, or else the stickiness won't stick to your glass, because they need to be really, really clean in order to do that. Yep, see, there's a cute little door, and I'm adding some flux and some solder to the inside of the door, because I need this door to be really strong. I want the pieces to stay on, very nicely. So I am adding some solder to the inside of this. I did not back solder most of the rest of the lamp, but I am doing it to the door. Okay, number 6, I added copper patina. So I'm outside, I'm spraying my lamp with copper patina. I like using the spray gun, which is just a really cheap sprayer, and then rubbing it in with a toothbrush. And the reason why I like spraying it is because three-dimensional projects are really hard to do with just the toothbrush. Now I'm using just common linseed oil, and I'm using that to clean it and give it a nice finish shine. There's lots of different ways people finish their projects. This one's being finished with linseed oil, which will then I'll rub it and get it off the glass and make sure it's as clean as and shiny and pretty as I can make it. Now, before I made my lamp, I'm going to wire in the LED lights. Before I started, I did drill a hole up the base, and you can see that hole right in the middle there. You can also see that I'm adding the LEDs through the original cord and then up into my lamp. And now you can just enjoy your project. There's so many. I I don't know, 100 or 200 lights in there. There's so many lights in there. And if you buy the variety light, fairy light string that has a controller, you can decide, how you want your lights to look. I kind of like it like this, just kind of slowly going from one color to another and multicolored. Or you can, be really crazy and have them kind of chase all different colors. And then you can have to figure out what kind of lampshade you want. And that's what I'm worried about right now is I'm starting to make the lampshade to go on this lamp base. So thank you for watching, and I hope you're having fun creating your projects. Bye bye.